In 1953, a teenage girl was locked alone in a Manila prison cell while doctors watched her get bitten by something that wasn't there. The skin didn't just break, it indented. Witnesses watched the flesh on her shoulder sink under an invisible pressure. Then came the moisture. Saliva appeared from nowhere, followed by the distinct circular puncture of human teeth. There was no attacker in the cell, just a terrified 18-year-old screaming into the humid air of a Manila jail. Doctors called it a medical impossibility, but the bite marks kept appearing, fresh, deep, and unmistakably feeding. The story of Clarita Villanueva is not a legend. It's a matter of public record, analyzed by the chief medical examiner of the Philippine Constabulary. Dozens of police officers, doctors, and reporters stood in the room with her. They all saw the same thing, the impossible happening in a brightly lit room. We're opening the file on the biting devils of Bilibid Prison, when the Philippine government witnessed what many believed was a supernatural assault. Clarita Villanueva was 18 years old. She was what the police reports called a taxi dancer, a woman who sold her time on the dance floor for a few pesos, living on the fringes of Manila society. She was an orphan from Bacolod, drifting through the city's underbelly until the night of May 10th, 1953, when she was picked up for vagrancy. It was a routine arrest. She was placed in the women's detention cell. It should have been a quiet night. But shortly after midnight, the screaming began. It wasn't the scream of a prisoner arguing with a guard. It was the primal, hysterical shrieking of someone fighting for their life. When the guards rushed to her cell, they found Clarita cowering in the corner. She was flailing her arms, striking out at the empty air. She begged them to make it stop. She begged them to take the thing away. She described them with terrifying specificity. There were two of them. One was large, dark, and hairy, a towering oppression that held her down. The other was smaller, with a face that was mostly mouth, filled with sharp, wide teeth. The guards looked around the cell. It was empty. The door was locked. The window was barred. There was nowhere for an intruder to hide. They assumed she was hallucinating, withdrawal maybe, or a break under the stress of incarceration. They told her to sleep and that nothing was there. But then they saw the blood. The guards watched, paralyzed, as the evidence manifested before their eyes. On Clarita's neck and then on her index finger, the skin began to turn red. It depressed, as if clamped by an invisible vice. Then the distinct pattern of teeth emerged. The skin broke. Blood began to trickle down her arm. She wasn't scratching herself. Her hands were held by the guards. She wasn't biting herself. The marks were on the back of her shoulders, on the nape of her neck, places physically impossible for her own mouth to reach. This wasn't a one-time occurrence. It happened again and again. Enter Dr. Mariano Lara, Chief Medical Examiner of the Manila Police Department, a man of science brought in to debunk the hysteria. He examined Clarita, checked her mouth and her dental arch. It did not match the wounds appearing on her body. The bite marks on her body were larger. The spacing was different. Dr. Lara was a skeptic. He ordered Clarita to be moved to the prison hospital, a controlled environment. He suspected some form of hysteria-induced dermatitis, a condition where the mind forces the body to create lesions. But hysteria doesn't leave saliva. Dr. Lara took swabs from the fresh wounds. He found wet saliva. He dried it, analyzed it, and confirmed it was human, or at least biological. But it wasn't Clarita's. In a report that would later be cited in international newspapers, Dr. Lara admitted that he was witnessing something he could not explain scientifically. he watched a bite mark appear on her index finger while he was holding her hand. He noted that the bites seemed to be inflicted by molars, grinding, tearing wounds meant to cause pain rather than to kill. News travels fast in Manila. The biting devils became the talk of the city. A crowd began to gather outside the jail, a mixture of the curious and the faithful, praying for the girl inside. The attention drew the ire of Mayor Arsenio Lacson. Lacson was known as the best mayor Manila ever had. He was tough, cynical, and famously no-nonsense. He considered the reports an embarrassment to his administration. He believed the police were duped by a clever girl looking for attention. He went to the jail personally to expose the fraud. Lacson arrived at the prison hospital with a team of aides. He cleared the room and stood over Clarita's bed, watching her with a hawk's eye. Clarita began to scream. "He's here," she cried. "He's biting me." Lacson didn't run. He leaned in and watched her index finger. In later interviews, the mayor, a man who had seen war and political violence, described how he felt the blood drain from his face as teeth marks sank into her skin. He saw the invisible jaws clamp down. When he grabbed her hand and tried to pull it away, he said he felt the resistance in the air. When he left the cell that night, the cynicism was gone. He told the press, "I saw the bite marks appear. I held her hand. It was not her." The narrative had shifted. It was no longer a question of if it was happening. It was a question of what it was doing. The attacks escalated. Clarita was reportedly bitten dozens of times over the course of a week. The doctors tried sedation. It didn't work. Clarita would wake up screaming, fresh wounds bleeding through her hospital gown. They tried isolation. The entities followed her. They tried to capture the entities on film. Photographers stood ready with flashbulbs, but every time the camera flashed, the entities would retreat, only to return in the darkness between the blinks of the eye. The psychological toll on the prison staff was immense. Guards refused to patrol the corridor alone. Inmates in nearby cells claimed they could hear heavy breathing, slow, wet, and guttural, coming from Clarita's isolation room when she was asleep. Dr. Lara, desperate for a solution, even considered the possibility of a poltergeist, or a projection of Clarita's own trauma. He noted her past was filled with abuse and neglect. Was it possible, he mused, that her mind was manifesting pain into a physical reality? But whatever this was, it didn't just mark her. It left bruises on witnesses. Several police officers who tried to restrain Clarita during her fits reported being shoved. One doctor claimed to feel a cold, hairy texture brush against his arm. The authorities were running out of time. Clarita was weakening. The loss of blood, the lack of sleep, and the sheer terror were draining her life away. The thing with the wide teeth wasn't just tormenting her, it was consuming her. The case caught the attention of Dr. Lester Sumrall, an American pastor in Manila. He read the reports in the papers. He went to the prison with a conviction that what was happening was not medical, but spiritual. Sumrall described entering the cell and feeling an immediate, oppressive heaviness. He described Clarita as looking more animal than human. Eyes wild, body contorted, expecting the next bite. According to Sumrall's account, and corroborated by the guards present, he commanded the entities to leave. Clarita convulsed. She screamed in a voice that didn't sound like her own. And then, for the first time in days, her body went limp. The tension in the room snapped. The heavy breathing stopped. The coldness lifted. Clarita opened her eyes. She looked at the empty corner where the dark thing used to stand. She told them it was gone. The bites stopped. The wounds began to heal naturally. The impossible had simply ceased. Clarita Villanueva was eventually released from the prison. She faded back into the anonymity of the city, leaving behind a medical file that remains one of the most baffling documents in Philippine history. Dr. Lara, the skeptic, never accepted any medical explanation. Mayor Lacson never retracted his statement. Whether the events were supernatural, psychological, or something in between, the witnesses all agreed on one thing: the wounds were real. The entities left Clara's cell that day, but there is no record of them ever leaving Manila. They simply went back to being invisible, waiting for someone else to feed on.